Here's why Jeet Kune Do destroys MMA. Jeet Kune Do is an eclectic martial arts philosophy heavily influenced and adapted by the personal philosophy and experiences of martial artist Bruce Lee, the legendary Bruce Lee, the Dragon. Yes. So let's get into it. We all know that Bruce Lee created Jeet Kune Do. It's a philosophy and it's brilliant, it's scientific, and it's just straight to the point. You know, Jeet Kune Do is very simple. Bruce Lee studied Wing Chun, he studied karate, he studied all kind of different martial arts. He fought with Muay Thai fighters and he learned these fighters. Every time he fought with somebody, he learned something. And he was all about exchanging. But a lot of people in the martial arts community didn't want to exchange their skills. They wanted to keep it privately. This bothered Bruce Lee. So he really wanted to just take everything and keep it simple and put it into one and get rid of a style. That's when he came up with Jeet Kune Do. Now, we all know how amazing and really great Wing Chun is. Bruce Lee studied under Ip Man, which is a master in Wing Chun. Bruce Lee just go down as the greatest martial artist of all time. Not to just make this about Bruce Lee, when you get into MMA, a lot of people will argue and say that Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee couldn't stand a chance in MMA. But if you really think about it, Bruce Lee is just that good, man. If you really look at Wing Chun and you look at MMA fighters, a lot of MMA fighters, don't get me wrong, they brutal, they nasty, they straight to the gritty. And if you look at how fighters are built today, they real muscular, man, they real strong. The way they work out is different than a traditional martial artist. But Bruce Lee wasn't considered a traditional martial artist. Bruce Lee was considered very scientific with what he did, man. I'm telling you, like, look at how he trained, how skilled he was. He understood fighting, he understood how to win, he understood just everything about it. When I look at Bruce Lee, man, and I look at MMA fighters, and you look at Jeet Kune Do is not a style. Jeet Kune Do is a philosophy, and it was created by Bruce Lee to get rid of styles and to keep it real simple. Bruce Lee was all about keeping things simple. He believed that the most simplest way was the best way. It was always the best way. The easiest way was the best way. But if you look at MMA fighters, a lot of MMA fighters, they fight in Muay Thai. They like to use elbows. They like to pick you up and slam you. They use a lot of wrestling. They use some martial arts. Yeah, I know it's mixed martial arts, but if you really look at it, they like to grab a lot. They do some hard hits. So it's a lot of street fighting in there, picking you up, slamming you, kicking. But if you look at Wing Chun is very fast. It's very fast. It's scientific with how they kick. Their defense is very, very good. And Wing Chun is a part of Jeet Kune Do. Karate is a part of Jeet Kune Do. All these different styles are a part of Jeet Kune Do. But Jeet Kune Do is not a style because it's very simple. If you understand the concept of that, is Jeet Kune Do is not limited. There's no limitations in Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do is basically built on offense and defense. So when Jeet Kune Do presents itself, Jeet Kune Do is basically offense and defense at the same time. So when they punch, they punching and kicking at this. They punching, but with the intentions of kicking too, or they blocking they defense with the intentions of offense. So it's hard to understand, but if you really look at it, is Jeet Kune Do would destroy MMA because it just MMA wouldn't stand a chance. It's hard to pick somebody up when they throwing 30 punches at you at one time. If you look how Ip Man punched, if you look how Bruce Lee hit, and how he did certain fights, man, it just destroys MMA, man. Like, that's why there's rules in MMA. Like, if you really put Wing Chun and different styles that a lot of MMA fighters don't use, you know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong, MMA these guys are great, man. It's just like they real strong, man. They know a lot of different martial arts. But when you look at fighters like Bruce Lee, Ip Man, you look at a lot of these fighters that people think that wouldn't stand a chance in MMA. And if you look at them, you might judge them off their size, or Bruce Lee was real small. A lot of the Jeet Kune Do fighters, you know, a lot of these fighters, they not like as big as wrestlers. They not as big as like you know, the MMA fighters, and the MMA fighters, they fight real strong and hard. Now, it would be a good match with the top MMA fighters, don't get me wrong, but Bruce Lee, and a lot of these MMA fighters would tell you, a lot of them watched Bruce Lee, a lot of them wanted to be Bruce Lee, a lot of them studied this. They understand, they know, but in MMA, there's rules and regulations, man, and certain things that, like, certain martial arts styles can't be used in MMA. Like Jeet Kune Do, they use all kind of techniques, man. The kicks, the way they kick, the way they punch, the way they defend, the way they moved around. Bruce Lee's moving, and the way he stand, you know, the way he struck punches, and the way he did everything, the way he thought was different. It's just everything he did was on a different level. You can't put them in the same category, I'm telling you, man. Like, Jeet Kune Do is just on a whole nother level. I believe it's the ultimate form of fighting. It's the ultimate form of martial arts. When Bruce Lee created this, he created this so you wouldn't live inside Jeet Kune Do, so you will understand that Jeet Kune Do is just a name used to put a stamp on his philosophy. He needed that name. He needed a name so you can recognize what his philosophy was. So when people who want to study Jeet Kune Do will have to understand that Jeet Kune Do is not to be studied as far as adapting, this is my style, or this is what I do. I've studied Jeet. No, you can study Jeet Kune Do by understanding that this is not a style. This is basically a philosophy. It's a mindset. It's the way you look at the world. It's the way you view yourself. It's the way you view how to deliver your strikes and your hits and what you're doing. You know what I mean? So Jeet Kune Do is just very scientific. It's very brilliant. That word is not really used, but that's just how I call it. I call it scientific because Bruce Lee did his research. He read all kind of books. Hundreds of books, man. He studied with the greatest. You know, he studied with people who was just masters in their craft. He became his own master. He became a legend. He was the greatest student that Ip Man had. You know what I mean? That came out of Wing Chun. Bruce Lee made martial arts very known. Martial arts wasn't that popular until Bruce Lee. You know what I mean? So martial arts was a thing, but it wasn't as popular until Bruce Lee brought it to life. Mixed martial arts, MMA, is developed off the backbone of Bruce Lee. Like, seriously, you know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't have these kind of fight styles if it wasn't for Bruce Lee. So we have to put him as the GOAT. Now, the reason why I'm speaking of Bruce Lee so much is because he created the term Jeet Kune Do. Now, this is for anybody studying Jeet Kune Do. When you look at it, it's like these fighters would destroy MMA fighters because the way they fight, they don't fight normal. They don't fight the way MMA is. MMA is based on a lot of rules, but at the same time, you can tell it's real brutal. They like to use a lot of elbows. They use Brazilian boxing. They use jiu-jitsu. They use wrestling. They use all kind of different stuff. They use Muay Thai. And cause Muay Thai, they like to jump up in the air. They like to come down. Like, you speak like Tony J. Now Tony J would be great in MMA. I would love to see Michael J. White in MMA, Van Damme. Like, there's a lot of real fighters that you might look at these people and say they just actors. Nah, these people really know what they doing. Danny Chan, who actually play as Bruce Lee in most of the movies. Donnie Yen, man, like, these people really are like on another level with it. Now MMA is big, but I would love to see like these fighters like fighting MMA, man. Just go against some real MMA fighters because it would be a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? Like, it would be a whole different ball game. Like, and this is my opinion, so y'all don't get mad, man. Just tell me what y'all think in the comments, man. Leave y'all rant. I want to hear it. This is just my rant on the whole thing, man. I love Bruce Lee. I'm passionate about every last movie Bruce Lee made. Jeet Kune Do is just all that. If I ain't told y'all my name, I'm Twint Lavish, man. I do study Jeet Kune Do, but I'm a film director and actor. Y'all like seeing short films and movies about a lot of stuff, man, subscribe to my YouTube channel, man, for real. But like I said before, Jeet Kune Do destroys MMA. That's how I feel about it. Man, it's a lot of more stuff that can just go inside there. I know a lot of y'all might be more knowledgeable on this. Y'all might be more knowledgeable I'm open to y'all opinions, but this is how I feel about it. This is my sole opinion, y'all. So don't get mad, man. This is my opinion. If you do get mad, I'm cool with it too, man. I just want to hear what y'all think. But Bruce Lee just demolished all MMA fighters, man. I'm telling you. I hope y'all like this video. If you did, smash that like button, smash that subscribe, turn on all notifications so you can see my updated videos, man.